Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
In the soft quiet just beyond waking, where the world hums like a lullaby and thoughts float like feathers, your brain begins a journey deeper than memory. It does this every night without fanfare or instruction, like the tide moving quietly across the sand. This is the world of sleep, not absence, but presence of another kind. A presence wrapped in darkness, drifting in electrical rhythm, where your mind leaves behind the weight of the day and swims gently in waves of dream. Within the curled folds of your brain, billions of neurons begin their nocturnal dance. During sleep, these tiny sparks do not rest, they reorganize, reflect, and sometimes whisper the dreams you don't remember. Sleep is not silence. It is not stillness. It is movement in a slower time. And this movement happens in waves, gentle, slow, powerful brain waves that flow across your mind like rolling clouds. These waves are not sound but electricity, riding through the brain's tangled highways, guiding it from one sleep stage to the next. First, the waves slow down. This is the beginning light sleep. The world blurs, muscles soften. The heart begins its slow retreat into rhythm. Alpha waves, soft and gentle, flutter across the brain like candlelight. Then come theta waves, slower and dreamier, pulling your mind into twilight. In this state, thoughts grow long and strange. Images drift in and out. Faces form, disappear, return again. You are floating but not yet dreaming. The body quiets. The eyes move slowly beneath closed lids, as if watching something distant unfold. Then deeper still, into the realm of delta waves, the slowest, strongest tides of all. These come during deep sleep when consciousness is far away and the brain is at work repairing the body from within. Muscles rebuild, bones strengthen. The immune system quietly rehearses its defenses. Growth hormone is released like moonlight through a forest. And the brain begins to clean itself. Tiny glial cells awaken and sweep through the brain, clearing waste, gathering fragments of memory, washing away the molecular dust of thought. It is here, in this quiet abyss, that the brain restores its clarity. But even in these depths, it prepares for something wondrous, the flicker of a dream. After about 90 minutes, another wave comes, but this time it is fast and flickering, almost like the waking mind. Rapid eye movement, or REM. The eyes dart beneath the lids, breathing becomes shallow, heartbeat quickens, the brain lights up, and though the body lies still, paralyzed by design, the mind begins to create. This is the theater of dreams, the place where the brain rehearses emotions, restitches memories, and paints wild, impossible stories with the ink of experience. No one fully knows why we dream. Some scientists believe dreams are a kind of emotional sorting, a way for the brain to file feelings into their proper places. Others believe they're more creative than that, moments where the mind combines strange thoughts into new connections, new insights, even new inventions. Some researchers see dreams as echoes of memory. Others think they are more like stories the brain tells itself to stay asleep, to keep the mind wrapped gently in the blanket of illusion. Whatever they are, dreams are woven into sleep's deepest design, and they ride the waves like ships on a glowing sea. Now imagine your brain as an ocean. Each night as sleep begins, the tide changes. Shallow waters first, then deeper currents, then stillness, then swirling motion. The brain cycles through stages: light sleep, deep sleep, REM, over and over again, like the moon pulling the tides of a hidden sea. 4 or 5 cycles each night, each about 90 minutes long. And each time it loops, the shape of the sleep changes: deeper in the beginning, more dreams near the end. It is not repetition, it is rhythm. A nightly concert composed entirely within your skull. During these cycles, the body becomes a cathedral of restoration. Muscles release tension. Blood pressure softens. Temperature lowers like dusk settling over a field. Organs whisper instead of shout. The heart beats as if it too is dreaming. And all of this is guided by the brain, specifically a tiny bundle of neurons in the hypothalamus, no larger than a grain of rice. This is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, the master clock. It listens to light. It senses time. It tells the pineal gland when to release melatonin, the hormone that makes you feel sleepy as night falls. And when darkness deepens, the SCN lets the body yield. But sleep is not just nighttime's business. All day long, your body and brain are preparing for it, building sleep pressure, storing the ingredients of drowsiness. As the hours pass, a molecule called adenosine builds up in your brain. It is the quiet voice urging you to rest. Caffeine blocks this voice, which is why coffee feels like a wakeful spell. But when caffeine fades and adenosine reclaims its place, the call to sleep returns. It is a whisper first, then a weight behind the eyes, then a hush in the body, telling you it's time to lie down and let go. And when you do, when you surrender, the waves begin again. No matter your age or beliefs, your worries or joys, the brain does its work. It folds you into itself, gently, rhythmically. Every creature with a brain must sleep. Mice dream, birds drift. Elephants lie down in fields and clouds pass above them. Even some fish rest in hidden coral caves, still and slow, carried gently by the sea. Sleep is not just healing, it is belonging. It is being part of a pattern far older than language, deeper than reason. When you sleep, you return to something shared, something ancient. Your ancestors, curled beside fires, watched stars and waited for the soft pull of drowsiness. Their brains, too, rode waves. They dreamed of rivers and wind and faces they missed. And now you do the same, not because you choose it, but because your brain is wired for it. Sleep is not escape, it is arrival. The arrival into another kind of knowing. A place where your brain repairs itself not with noise, but with rhythm. Not with action, but with waves. So tonight, when you close your eyes, think of the brain not shutting down, but turning inward. Let it be a lantern behind your forehead. Let it flicker gently as the waves begin. You may not remember the moment you leave waking, but your brain will. It will guide you, layer by layer, wave by wave, into the deep, where you will drift and heal and dream. Let's drift deeper now, beyond the waves and into the tide that pulls thought into meaning. Sleep is not simply rest. It is a kind of remembering and forgetting and building anew. Your brain does not shut off when you sleep. Instead, it becomes more itself, not louder but more precise. In the stillness of sleep, something astonishing happens. The brain begins to reshape your day. Every conversation, every sound, every moment you barely noticed, it all begins to settle like dust in water. Some pieces drift down and become memory, others dissolve and vanish. This is not chance. This is sleep's quiet purpose. Scientists have watched this process unfold, peering into the mind with machines that read the light of neurons. And what they see is remarkable. During certain phases of sleep, especially deep sleep and REM, the brain replays the day's experiences, softly echoing them in patterns. Like a painter revisiting a sketch, it redraws moments, strengthens details, and chooses which to keep. This happens mostly in the hippocampus, the brain's memory garden, and then moves to the cortex, where the past is stored more permanently. Sleep is the bridge from experience to memory. Without it, the day fades like a forgotten breeze. Think of it like a museum at night. After the visitors leave and the doors close, quiet figures move through the halls, deciding which exhibits to keep, which to rearrange, which to pack away. That's what your brain does in sleep. And the caretakers are your dreams. They do not always make sense, but they are the messengers, the sorters, the curators. They take raw emotion and tuck it into pictures. They smooth the sharp edges of fear. They turn confusion into stories. And sometimes they give us insight, the sudden knowledge that only comes in the morning, when a problem has unraveled in the dark. But sleep does not only help the past, it shapes the future too. The rested brain is more creative, more focused, more compassionate. Sleep strengthens emotional balance. It tempers reactivity. It makes us kinder without trying. Even short losses of sleep can cloud judgment, shorten patience, and dim empathy. The dreaming brain rehearses social emotions, playing out interactions in safe, imagined places. You practice being human while you sleep. You try on different roles, replay regrets, explore joys. It is a rehearsal without consequence, a rehearsal that leaves you stronger for the waking world. All of this happens beneath the surface. You lie in bed, still and warm, and your brain conducts a symphony. The instruments are electrical pulses and chemical messengers. The conductor is time, and the music is memory, emotion, learning, and repair. Some of the most important processes are almost invisible. Take the glymphatic system, for instance, a newly discovered network that only awakens during deep sleep. It acts like the brain's cleansing crew, washing away proteins and debris that build up during waking hours. Among these proteins are ones linked to neurodegenerative diseases, meaning that sleep may be one of your greatest long-term protectors. And then there is emotion. Have you noticed how different the world feels after a good night's sleep? How colors seem softer, words gentler, stress lighter? This is not imagination. The amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm, becomes calmer with sleep. The prefrontal cortex, the wise part of your mind, regains control. Together they form a balance. When sleep is short, that balance tips. Reactions become sharper, patience thinner, sadness heavier. But when you are rested, your emotions breathe easier. It is as though sleep cools the fires of the mind, letting you begin again with a clear sky. Now think of children. Their need for sleep is immense, not just for energy but for growth. Their brains are building pathways, growing faster than at any other time in life. In infants, half of their sleep is REM. They dream more, learn more, grow more. Sleep shapes who they become. And as we grow older, though the amount of sleep we need changes, its value never fades. Elderly minds still benefit from sleep's gentle hand, especially as the brain works harder to maintain memory and function. Sleep is not a luxury. It is a biological necessity stitched into every stage of life. Even animals show the same story. Birds tuck their heads beneath their wings and sleep with half a brain at a time, one side alert, the other dreaming. Dolphins do this too, keeping one hemisphere awake to breathe. Cats nap in sunlit windows, entering REM within minutes. Whales rest vertically in the ocean, still as driftwood. Across the natural world, sleep appears in different shapes, but always for the same reason: to heal, to remember, to renew. From insects to elephants, the rhythm of sleep pulses through biology like a second heartbeat. Sleep is also a form of timekeeping. Your circadian rhythm, your internal clock, knows the shape of a day. It listens to the sun and shadows. It watches the timing of meals, the patterns of light, the quieting of the world. And within your body, countless clocks sync to that master rhythm. In your liver, your muscles, your heart, each cell has its own ticking, guided by proteins that rise and fall, like tiny gears turning in a great machine. Sleep is when those clocks align, whispering their instructions to the body. This is how you stay in rhythm with the planet. But modern life tugs us out of rhythm. Artificial light, glowing screens, irregular schedules, they confuse the body's wisdom. Late-night scrolling pushes melatonin aside. Shift work unmoors the circadian tide. Even a single hour lost in sleep debt can ripple across mood, memory, and health. We are the only species that willingly delays sleep. And yet every delay comes with a cost. The body remembers. It keeps score. And though we cannot always feel the damage right away, over time, sleep loss gathers like shadow in the corners of the mind. Still, the brain is forgiving. It does not hold grudges. One night of deep sleep can begin the repair. And so the invitation remains. Every night is a chance to return, a chance to let go, a chance to step into the current of dreams and ride it inward. The science is clear, but more than that, the feeling is true. You know it when you wake up rested, when you feel whole again, when the world feels gentle. And so we honor sleep not just as rest, but as renewal, not as escape, but as connection. To our biology, our memories, our moods, and each other. In the quiet of night, beneath layers of brain waves and memory traces, the self softens. And in that softness, you become more human, more whole, more alive. Let the story settle now, like a feather floating downward through twilight. We've wandered through waves of memory and the science of dreams, and now we move into the quiet resolution, The gentle knowing that sleep is not just something the brain does, but something the soul recognizes. The longer you watch the brain's nightly patterns, the more you realize that sleep is its own kind of consciousness. Not a shutting down, but a tuning inward. A return to something older than language. A rhythm older than thought. In that rhythm lives a wisdom your body never forgets. Each night as you surrender to sleep, the outside world begins to blur. Your senses dim like stars at dawn. The brain, however, does not vanish into stillness. It drifts into a new terrain, one sculpted by inner time. Here the body is cradled in silence and the brain gently folds the day into something lighter. It doesn't erase what happened. It reweaves it. The joys, the sorrows, the tiny unnoticed textures of life, all of them soften and sink beneath the surface. And from this quiet descent comes a rising, a sense of balance that greets you when you wake. The beauty of this nightly repair is how automatic it is. You do not need to think your way into it. You need only trust the rhythm. Let the body lead. For within every cell, every heartbeat, every blink, the instructions for sleep are already written. Your breathing slows not because you decide it should, but because ancient pathways light up in the brainstem. Your muscles release not from effort, but from neurochemical whispers that say, now. The very structure of your being calls you to rest. And when you finally let go, you do not fall, you drift. There is something sacred about that moment, the way thoughts loosen their grip, the way the mind opens not to the noise of the world but to something vast and interior. Sleep is where the mind returns to itself. No task, no goal, just the slow unraveling of tension, the soft rhythm of being. Even your dreams, strange as they may seem, are part of this process. Some carry symbols from the day, wrapped in metaphors. Others arrive from deeper layers where logic gives way to emotion. They are not puzzles to solve, but feelings to feel. Stories the mind tells when language is asleep. In these stories we may glimpse forgotten parts of ourselves, a hallway from childhood, a voice from years ago, a sky that never existed but feels familiar. These images, stitched together by sleeping neurons, are not random. They are stitched from emotion, memory, desire, and imagination. The dreaming brain is not careless. It is honest in a way waking cannot be. It brings forth what needs to be held, not spoken. What needs to be felt, not analyzed. The theater of dreams is where the self unravels and reweaves in softer colors. And then morning, the light returns. The brain, slow at first, begins to reassemble the day, the body stretches. Muscles remember their weight, the eyes blink open. And yet something has changed, something subtle but real. You are slightly more whole than you were, not because the world changed, but because you were allowed to step outside of it for a while. The world of sleep is invisible, but it leaves its imprint. In a rested mind, kindness moves easier. Patience lingers longer. Hope feels more possible. These are not accidents. They are sleep's quiet gifts. In modern life, it's easy to forget this. We trade rest for speed. We idolize exhaustion. We push through tiredness as if it's weakness, but biology does not share that belief. The brain cannot be fooled forever. It keeps score. It knows when you've skipped the deep waves, and though it forgives, it whispers louder each time, calling you back to the rhythm, back to the dream, back to the breath. Sleep is not a pause from life. It is part of life's design. Without it, even the brightest minds begin to dim. Even your very sense of self depends on it. Studies show that sleep affects identity, mood stability, and social connection. When sleep is fractured, the self becomes more fragile. But with sleep, the sense of I am becomes steady. Rested minds are more generous. They listen better. They learn deeper. The science is clear, but beyond data, there is something even truer, the feeling of waking from a dream that healed you in ways you didn't understand. As if the mind has touched something it needed, and now brings it back, wrapped gently in peace. So tonight, as you lie in bed, remember the miracle of what is coming. Not simply rest, but renewal. Not absence, but transformation. The brain in all its complexity will enter its sacred rhythm. Waves will rise and fall. Memories will be tended. Emotions will be soothed. Cells will be cleaned. And somewhere in the quiet depths, a dream will rise unexpected, maybe even strange, and carry you deeper still. It doesn't matter if you remember it. What matters is that it happens. You are not alone in this. The stars have witnessed sleep for billions of years. The moon has watched over sleeping creatures long before cities glowed through the night. Every living thing with a nervous system knows the pull of sleep, knows the surrender, and in that surrender there is strength, the strength of returning, the strength of yielding, the strength of healing through softness. So let your mind drift now. Let it follow the breath. Let the day dissolve like mist. Sleep is not the end of anything. It is the beginning of everything that matters. And in the quiet rhythm of night, the brain will dream its waves again, not because it must, but because it knows how. Deep within your skull, neurons will hum their lullaby, and all you need to do is listen. Not with ears, but with trust. The kind of trust that comes when you finally say to yourself, "Now I will rest." When the sun slips below the horizon and shadows stretch long across the earth, your body begins to listen. Not with ears alone, but with skin, with cells, with the soft rhythm of breath. Night doesn't just arrive in the sky, it arrives in you. There is a language to darkness, a quiet code your body understands without needing to be taught. It's in the fatting of light, the cooling of air, the soft hush that settles over the world. These are not just moments, they are signals, and your body listens to them all. As daylight wanes, a slow orchestration begins inside you. The pineal gland, nestled deep in the brain, waits for the absence of light. It does not see, but it knows. It receives messages from the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the body's central clock which has been watching the sun move through the sky. When darkness grows, the SCN whispers to the pineal gland, "Now." And so melatonin begins to rise, seeping into the bloodstream like a soft lullaby. It tells the body that night has come. It tells the cells to slow, the heart to rest, the eyes to grow heavy. This is how your body hears the night. But it's not just the brain that listens. Every part of you responds to darkness. Your skin, no longer kissed by sunlight, cools gently. Blood vessels widen, inviting rest. Muscles release their grip on the day's tension. The stomach softens its work. Even the liver begins to shift into its nightly rhythm, preparing to detoxify and rebuild. There is a kind of trust here, a knowing that night is a time not of action, but of restoration. This pattern exists not just in humans, but in nearly all life. From the leaves that close at dusk to the owls that wake in moonlight, nature bends to the rhythm of dark and light. Your body also listens through temperature. As night falls, core temperature drops slightly, a subtle cue that whispers sleep is near. This drop is not accidental. It is deeply wired, part of the body's preparation for rest. The cooler you become, the more sleep-friendly your internal environment becomes. That's why a warm bath before bed can help you sleep, not because it keeps you warm, but because it leads to a cooling afterward. Your body listens to this shift. It takes it as a sign. Another note in the silent song of night. And then there is the slowing of sound. Not silence, but softer noise. The buzz of day fades. The world hums in lower tones. This too is heard by the body. Even the way you process sound changes with the time of day. At night, the brain becomes more selective, more protective. It filters the world with more care, guarding the sanctity of sleep. Only the most important sounds, the cry of a child, the ring of danger, break through. The rest, like passing cars or distant footsteps, are dulled by the sleeping brain's filters. This is not just protection. It is evolution, a way to sleep safely in a world that never fully quiets. Light, sound, temperature, these are the elements of the nocturnal symphony your body responds to, but even deeper than these is the rhythm of hormones. Cortisol, the hormone of alertness, dips as night approaches. Growth hormone, needed for repair, begins its rise. Leptin whispers fullness while ghrelin quiets hunger. These hormonal waves are not just background processes, they are conversations. Your body speaks to itself, telling each part what time it is, what to do, when to stop, when to dream. And all of it is tuned to the tempo of the night. Imagine the body as a village preparing for dusk. Shops close, lights dim, people settle into their homes, the streets quiet, only a few lanterns flicker in windows. Inside, small fires are tended, wounds are cleaned, stories are told. That is what your cells do when night comes. They close the doors to stimulation and open the windows to rest. DNA is repaired. Muscles begin to rebuild. Immune cells roam more freely, patrolling, fixing, learning. These are not passive moments. They are deeply active, just not in ways we see. And through all of this, your body feels the absence of sunlight. Not just in the eyes, but through invisible pathways, photoreceptors in the skin, signals from the retina, molecular clocks in your organs. All of these respond to light and its fatting. In places where natural light is scarce, like in deep winter or under artificial glow, this system can become confused. The body doesn't always know what time it is. Sleep becomes irregular, energy frays, mood thins. This is why light matters, not just for vision, but for time itself. The body hears the night best when the day is clear. Even the heart listens. At night, heart rate drops, blood pressure lowers. The autonomic nervous system shifts from sympathetic, the branch of action, to parasympathetic, the branch of restoration. This is the rest and digest mode. It slows the breath, it calms the nerves, it invites stillness. In this state, the heart speaks more quietly. The mind listens more gently. Together, they form a sanctuary of rest. The gut listens too. Recent science has shown that the microbiome, the ecosystem of bacteria in your intestines, follows a daily rhythm. Some species grow at night, others rest. The gut is deeply tied to circadian cues. When sleep is disrupted, so is digestion. When light patterns shift, so does microbial health. It's all connected. The night is not just a backdrop for sleep. It is a conductor, and your body is the orchestra. Even your dreams in their silent unfolding are shaped by how well your body listens to night. A room that is too bright, too loud, too warm, it changes the dreamscape. The depth of REM, the quality of emotion, the memory that forms. Night is not just the absence of day, it is a canvas, and the body is the brush. The better the body hears it, the more beautifully it paints. And perhaps that is the most important part of this listening, not just the science, but the intimacy. The body listens because it wants to heal, because it wants to align. You do not have to control it, you only need to let it listen. Let the lights dim. Let the noise quiet. Let the air cool. Give your body permission to do what it already knows how to do. Because when it hears the night clearly, sleep comes not as a task, but as a gift. And in that sleep, a new chapter begins. One that does not ask questions, but offers answers through feeling, through stillness, through a deeper connection to time. So tonight, when the sky turns dark and the wind begins to whisper, know that your body is listening. And in that listening, it finds its way home. Let us drift deeper into the body's listening, into the quiet harmonies that play beneath the surface of skin and bone. Night is not only a setting, it is a transformation. And your body, in its patient wisdom, does not resist this change. It leans into it. As the darkness thickens and the pace of the world slows, your internal world begins to speak more clearly. Signals grow stronger. Pathways grow brighter. Night is the moment the body turns inward. It is not a shutdown. It is a shift, from doing to being, from noise to rhythm, from light to the gentle sound of breath. Even your brain listens more deeply as night approaches. The balance of neurotransmitters shifts like clouds rolling over a mountain. Serotonin gives way to melatonin. Excitatory chemicals fade. Inhibitory signals rise like dusk in the nervous system, quieting thoughts and softening awareness. The thalamus, which during the day acts as a gatekeeper for sensory input, begins to close its gates. External noises are dulled. Touch becomes less urgent. The body begins to fall inward. And it is here, in this slow withdrawal, that the nervous system begins its night work, not loud but essential. This transformation is not only chemical, it is electrical, hormonal, behavioral. The parasympathetic nervous system, which governs rest, takes the lead. It slows the heart, calms the breath. It activates digestion, cellular repair, and immune memory. You may feel tired, but your body is becoming radiant in its inner activity. Organs begin to communicate in more subtle rhythms. Blood flow shifts, favoring the core. Muscles grow heavier, but beneath them, capillaries deliver nutrients with greater focus. Bones absorb minerals more efficiently. The skin begins its quiet renewal, all of it tuned to the signal of nightfall. Now imagine this rhythm stretching across millions of years. Evolution has shaped every cell in your body to expect the alternation of day and night. It is not optional, it is embedded. The first creatures living in shallow seas followed the tides of light and dark before time had a name. Their genetic descendants, the circadian genes, still live in you. They oscillate within your cells not by chance but by design. These genes do not sleep, but they know when you should. They regulate enzymes, control temperature, adjust hormone release. Their clock is molecular, and their calendar is the sky. This inner timing system reaches into places we rarely think about. Your kidneys filter differently at night. Your lungs breathe with slower rhythms. Your eyes, even closed, shift their sensitivity. The immune system strengthens its training, releasing cytokines and other messengers to guide the body's defenses. Even wounds heal more quickly during sleep. The skin, freed from the sun and the friction of movement, absorbs nutrients more easily. DNA repair enzymes become more active. The body, in stillness, becomes its own gentle healer. Yet for all this activity, the body does not ask for effort. It asks only for rhythm. A regular bedtime, a dark room, a cool space, the absence of noise. These are not rituals of luxury, they are biological cues. They are the environmental songs your body has learned to trust. And when those cues are broken by bright lights, irregular sleep, late meals, the song becomes dissonant. The body still listens, but the message is unclear. It tries to adapt. It compensates. But over time it begins to tire. Sleep becomes shallow. Dreams lose their shape. Energy thins like morning fog. Still, the body remembers how to listen. It never forgets. Even a few nights of gentle rhythm can restore its inner music. Sleep becomes richer. The body's response to night sharpens. Melatonin flows more freely. Hormones rise and fall like the tide again. It doesn't take perfection. It takes presence. It takes listening, not with your ears, but with your choices. The body's listening grows clearest when you begin to honor the signals it has always known. Consider the sense of safety. It too plays a part. In ancient times, we only slept deeply when we felt safe near a fire within a trusted circle. Today, the same holds true. A body at peace sleeps more fully. When the nervous system feels secure, the breath grows longer. The muscles truly let go. The dreams deepen. So sleep hygiene is not only about screens and sounds, it's also about trust, soft textures, familiar smells, stillness in the room. All of these tell the body, you are safe. You may rest now. Even the breath becomes a message. Slow breathing activates the vagus nerve, a long wandering nerve that connects the brain to the heart, lungs, gut. When it is soothed, the whole system enters a state of deep relaxation. This is not magic, it is biology, and it works both ways. Breathing slowly tells the brain that all is well, that night has come, that rest is welcome. So one of the gentlest ways to help the body listen to the night is simply to breathe with it, slowly, softly, like leaves moving in the dark. And as the body listens, so too does the mind. Thoughts that race now begin to stroll, worries grow tired. The inner narrator, so loud during the day, begins to whisper instead, and then eventually grows quiet. This silence is where sleep begins, not with the closing of eyes but with the opening of surrender. The mind yields, the body drifts, and together they move toward the place where dreams wait. The body hears the night not through words but through presence, through cool air, through the deepening dark, through a kind of music that only living things can perceive. It is the hum of the earth turning, the song of a body tuned to time. And in this listening, the body does not forget who it is. It remembers, not the facts of life, but the feeling of being alive, safe, warm, and ready to heal. The night is not outside of you. It is in you. And when you listen well, sleep is the answer that follows. Now let the rhythm soften further. Let us arrive where the body not only listens to the night, but becomes part of it, dissolving gently into the quiet fabric of darkness. The sounds fade, the colors dim, and what remains is sensation, breath, the slow pulsing of life moving inward. In this last descent, the body does not just hear the night, it becomes fluent in its language. It knows the meaning of shadows. It understands the hush between heartbeats. It does not ask why the night comes. It accepts that it must, and welcomes it like a friend returning from far away. The night has always been here. Long before buildings or clocks or glowing screens, nightfall signaled a sacred time, a boundary not of fear but of transformation. In that darkness, early humans learned to sleep in shifts, to listen for wolves or the call of wind through trees. But even then, the body craved rhythm. It adapted to moonlight and starlight, to the crackling warmth of a fire, to the lull of distant rivers. Sleep was not only safe, it was essential. And the body grew wise through generations of listening. It passed this wisdom down, cell to cell, breath to breath. Now, even in a world of light and noise, your body remembers. Each night, whether you notice or not, your physiology replays this ancient symphony. And though the instruments have changed, the flicker of a phone screen where once there was flame, the music remains. It begins with silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of stillness, a deep bodily pause. Your eyes grow heavier not just from fatigue, but because melatonin is flowing freely now, soothing every system. Your heart has slowed its steady beat. Blood flows with quiet purpose. The digestive system winds down. Your muscles, those quiet storytellers of your day, release their memory and begin to float. In this softness, the boundary between body and night begins to blur. But the greatest transformation happens in the places you cannot see. Within you, trillions of cells shift into their night mode. They repair the wear of the day, fixing DNA strands, cleaning metabolic waste, rebuilding broken pieces without your knowing. This work is meticulous and kind. It is not rushed. Enzymes move through your cells like caretakers in candlelight, gentle and precise. In your brain, glial cells clear away the remnants of thought, making space for clarity. In your blood, immune cells perform their quiet patrol. In your skin, new collagen is stitched in silence. And all of it happens without applause. It is the miracle you sleep through. There is something humbling in that. To know that while your mind dreams of rivers or flying or nothing at all, your body is performing its most sacred rituals. Not for show, not for ambition, but simply because that is what life does when it listens to night. It renews itself. It forgives the noise of the day. It begins again. This is not weakness. This is strength. Deep, patient strength, the kind that grows not through force but through surrender. Even your breath becomes a guide. Slow and steady, it rocks you inward. Each inhale draws in quiet. Each exhale releases weight. Over time, your breath matches the rhythm of the earth itself, slower, gentler, ancient. Scientists have found that during deep sleep, the heart and lungs enter into a synchrony with brain waves. The body becomes a single instrument playing a nocturne in harmony with itself. There is no rush. There is no goal. There is only presence. And presence is everything. The more you live in alignment with the day's fading, the more richly you sleep. It's not about hours alone, but about honoring the story of night, allowing it to enter your habits, your space, your thoughts, turning off harsh light, letting silence grow, letting your mind unclench. These are small choices, but they speak in loud ways to the body. And the body hears them. It responds. It always does. In many traditions, night is seen not as the end of the day, but the beginning of renewal. In Ayurveda, sleep is sacred, a pillar of health as vital as food and breath. In traditional Chinese medicine, the hours of night are linked to specific organs and emotions, all cycling in rhythm. Even in Western science, the more we learn, the more we return to what the body always knew, that night is not a void. It is a ceremony, a restoration, a sacred return to wholeness. This is why sleep loss feels so unnatural. Not just because we are tired, but because we are out of sync. When we fight the night with screens, with urgency, with noise, we miss the invitation. We become estranged from the part of us that listens. The cost is quiet but real. Memory frays, emotions spill. Immunity weakens. The body doesn't punish us, it simply reminds us. And every reminder is a chance to return. Because we can return, that is the grace of it. No matter how long we've wandered from rhythm, it waits for us. The body is not rigid, it is rhythmic. It will dance again if we let it. One early bedtime, one evening walk, one breath before sleep. That is all it takes to begin again. And when we do, the body listens. It always has. So tonight, when the world begins to dim, let your body remember. Let your thoughts grow quieter. Let your breath deepen. The night is not asking you to disappear. It is asking you to return to yourself, to your rhythm, to the harmony that was always there beneath the noise. Close the day gently. Put down the weight of the waking world. And listen. Listen not just with your ears, but with your entire being. Listen with your heartbeat, with the softness in your hands, with the stillness behind your eyes. And in that listening, you'll feel it, the night entering not just your room, but your cells. The body hearing it like music, and the soul at last answering with peace. There is a garden inside you, though it grows without leaves or roots. Its soil is not made of earth, but of time, and its flowers do not bloom with petals, but with molecules, invisible messengers flowing like scent through your blood. These are your sleep hormones, the quiet chemists of the night, tending to the rhythm of your rest. You do not see them. You do not command them. Yet each evening they arrive like moonlight, soft and essential. They open gates, dim lights within, and whisper to your body, "It's time." This garden is always there, blooming in silence as the stars rise. Among the first to stir is melatonin. It is the dusk flower, the one that blossoms when the sun begins to fall. Deep in the brain, in a tiny gland called the pineal, melatonin begins to rise as daylight fades. It does not need words, it needs darkness. Darkness is its cue, its companion, its signal. When light leaves the world, melatonin moves through your bloodstream like a tide, not to make you sleep directly, but to prepare the land, to soften the body, to cool the mind, to tell every cell night has come. And with its rise, you begin to feel it, the slow blink, the heavy eyelids, the quiet retreat. But melatonin is not alone in this garden. There is adenosine building steadily through your waking hours. Each thought you have, each task you complete leaves behind a trace of adenosine. It is not a toxin, it is a signal. It gathers in your brain like fallen leaves, layering until the pressure becomes too much to ignore. This pressure is what we feel as sleepiness. It grows with the day, and when evening comes, it works in harmony with melatonin. Together, they sing the body toward rest. Adenosine says, "You've done enough." Melatonin says, "It's time to slow." And the body, hearing both, begins to yield. As the world darkens further, cortisol, once bright and alert, begins to lower. Cortisol is the morning flame, the wake-up spark. But at night it steps aside, letting softer hormones take the stage. Its departure is gentle but vital. If it lingers too long, if stress keeps it burning, sleep cannot bloom fully. So as part of this garden's tending, the body begins to calm the fires of alertness. The adrenal glands ease. The pulse steadies. Cortisol's voice fades like twilight, and in that hush, sleep finds its way. And while melatonin welcomes night and adenosine urges rest, another figure waits quietly in the wings, GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, a mouthful for a whisper of peace. GABA is the great quietener. It moves between neurons, softening their chatter. It tells the brain, "Lower your voice." It doesn't turn off thought, it turns down the volume. It rocks the nervous system like a cradle. Without GABA, sleep would be loud. With it, the mind becomes a still pond, reflecting only what needs to remain. Its presence is felt not as seduction, but as stillness. As you drift into sleep, the balance between these hormones becomes more refined. Like an orchestra easing into its second movement, new chemicals rise. One of them is prolactin. Known for its role in nursing, it also plays a part in the deep layers of rest. It floods the system during sleep, calming aggression, reducing stress, guiding the body into deeper restoration. At the same time, growth hormone begins to rise, not for height alone, but for healing. Bones strengthen, tissues repair, muscles knit themselves whole again, all while the mind dreams elsewhere. In REM sleep, the dreamscape, another set of hormones flicker to life. Acetylcholine awakens, bright and fast, lighting up circuits in the brain. The eyes dance beneath closed lids. The heart beats a little faster, but the body does not move. This is the work of another silent gardener, glycine. Released in the brainstem, glycine paralyzes major muscles during REM. It keeps the dreamer safe, prevents the sleepwalker's reach, ensures that while the mind may fly, the body remains still, wrapped safely in shadow. The coordination of all these hormones is extraordinary. No conductor, no conscious will, Yet they arrive in perfect order, cycling through the night like seasons in a forest, from light sleep to deep, from deep to dream, from dream to waking again. Each phase shaped by chemistry, each chemical tending to a different kind of repair. This is not automation, it is grace, a choreography shaped by millions of years of biological refinement, and it happens every night whether you notice or not. Even hunger and fullness sleep in this garden. The hormones leptin and ghrelin, often thought of only in daytime terms, shift dramatically at night. Leptin, which tells the brain you are satisfied, rises in sleep. Ghrelin, which stirs appetite, falls. This is why a good night's rest often brings less hunger in the morning. The body has been told in its own language, you are nourished. But when sleep is disturbed, this balance falters. Ghrelin rises, leptin sinks. And the next day, we eat not out of need but confusion. Sleep in this way is a silent feast, a satisfaction deeper than taste. In all of this, every molecule, every rise and fall depends on rhythm. A circadian garden blooming according to light and time. When that rhythm is disrupted by late screens, long flights, restless thoughts, the garden becomes tangled. Hormones rise too soon or too late. Signals cross. Sleep stumbles, but the garden can be tended again, with consistency, with dark evenings and calm hours, with kindness. The body remembers how to grow quiet. The garden remembers how to bloom. So when you lie down tonight, think not only of the mattress or the blanket or the hum of the room. Think of this inner garden, the hormones that arrive without fanfare, the messengers that ask for nothing but time and quiet. They do not force sleep, they invite it. They do not demand, they wait. And in their waiting, the body responds. The breath slows, the eyes close, and the self, cradled by chemistry and time, enters the place where healing begins. It is a miracle in silence, a garden that grows in the dark, and you every night are invited to step into it, not as a gardener, but as something simpler, a guest, a dreamer, a part of the rhythm that makes life whole again. Let us drift further into the garden, where night deepens and chemistry continues its gentle work. The quiet messengers of sleep do not rest after you close your eyes. In fact, their true labor has only just begun. While the outer world fades away, your inner world blossoms with precise and purposeful motion. Hormones rise and fall like waves on a midnight sea, not by chance but by an ancient intelligence built into your very blood. Each shift is deliberate, each chemical released with care. These are the nocturnal caretakers of your well-being, shaping, shielding, and softening you while you dream. During the first part of the night, sleep is dominated by deep non-REM stages, those quiet, heavy hours where the brain slows, the breath deepens, and the muscles sink into stillness. This is the time when growth hormone does its best work. Released in large pulses during the deepest parts of non-REM sleep, growth hormone moves silently through your bloodstream, mending and renewing. It tells bones to build. It tells muscles to restore. It tells tissues to seal their tiny wounds. This hormone is not only for children. In adults, it is the architect of recovery, repairing the strain of the day and preparing the body for tomorrow. While growth hormone works its silent magic, cortisol remains respectfully low, having retreated as dusk approached. But it does not vanish. Instead, it waits for the right moment. As the night progresses, a subtle shift begins. Around the last third of the night, cortisol starts to rise again, gently like a tide returning to shore. This rise is not alarming, it is natural. It prepares you for waking. It nudges your body toward alertness, so that when morning light reaches your eyes, the transition from sleep to wakefulness feels seamless. Cortisol is not the villain of rest, it is the closing act of a well-composed symphony. In the later hours, REM sleep begins to take the stage more frequently. Here, another set of hormones emerge, quietly shaping your inner dreamscape. Acetylcholine increases, acting like a spotlight inside the brain, illuminating patterns and memories, connecting threads from waking life in new and unexpected ways. The brain becomes lively again, not in movement but in thought. This is the rehearsal room of the mind. And acetylcholine is the stage manager, guiding which memories are played, which feelings are explored, which lessons are stitched deeper into your being. Meanwhile, serotonin, the gentle mood keeper, remains involved throughout the night. Though often associated with daytime calm and happiness, serotonin is also a builder of dreams. It modulates sleep architecture, especially the transitions between stages. It works closely with melatonin, for it is serotonin that gives rise to melatonin in the pineal gland. By day, sunlight stimulates serotonin. By night, darkness transforms it into melatonin. The dance between these two, light and dark, wake and sleep, is one of the body's most elegant partnerships. Together, they form the outer petals of the inner flower that blooms in sleep. Then comes oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the whisperer of trust. Most known for its role in love and social connection, oxytocin also surges during certain stages of sleep, especially after emotional experiences. It soothes the heart. It quiets anxiety. It turns distress into softness. When you feel safe, when you drift off beside someone you love, or even when held by a memory of kindness, oxytocin rises. And in that rise, your sleep becomes more peaceful, more healing. This is why sleep is deeper in safety, why it is a gift when shared. The chemicals of connection do not vanish at night, they simply work more quietly. All these hormones, each with their own role, form a system more delicate than any machine. A single disruption, too much light, too much stress, a misaligned schedule can scatter this orchestra. Melatonin may be delayed, cortisol may rise too early, growth hormone may miss its window, and so sleep becomes fragmented. The garden grows tangled, but the beauty of this system lies in its memory. The body remembers what balanced rhythm feels like. Even after disruption, a few nights of steady rhythm, of dark evenings and calm waking, can bring the system back into bloom. Food plays its part as well. What you eat, and when you eat it, sends signals to this internal garden. Eating late can confuse circadian hormones, delaying melatonin and impairing insulin sensitivity. Certain nutrients like magnesium and tryptophan support the production of calming neurotransmitters. Warm herbal teas can soothe the nervous system and support GABA's quieting effect. The body is not separate from the choices we make. It listens to every detail. And the sleep hormones, ever patient, adapt and respond. They do not demand perfection. They ask only for consistency and care. Movement, too, leaves a trail in this chemistry. Daytime activity, especially natural sunlight and gentle exercise, helps set the foundation for healthy hormone release at night. When the body moves with joy and effort during the day, it prepares more deeply for rest. Sleep becomes deeper, hormones flow more freely, and the transitions between stages become smoother. This is not a rigid rule, but a rhythm, the rhythm of exertion and recovery, action and renewal. The garden grows best when tended in both sun and shade. And then there is the mind, your inner weather. Thoughts that flutter like birds or swirl like wind can either support or scatter the hormones of sleep. Chronic stress can raise cortisol late into the night. Anxiety can suppress melatonin. But practices like meditation, deep breathing, or soft storytelling can reverse these trends. They invite the return of calm. And the sleep hormones, ever watchful, respond to that invitation. The inner garden begins to blossom once more. Peace becomes not a goal, but a byproduct of alignment. This is the secret of the silent garden. It is not built on effort but on ease. It does not bloom when pushed. It blooms when allowed. When you step back from the noise of waking, when you dim the lights and breathe gently, the hormonal tenders of your rest begin their work. You may never see them. You may never feel them in the way you feel a hand or a wind. But they are there, always folding your biology into the gentle shape of sleep. And so each night, this garden is not just a place. It is a process, a ritual of chemistry, a choreography of care. Your body does not ask for miracles. It asks for the ordinary magic of rhythm, the quiet repetition of care, the steady return to rest. And when you give it that, the garden answers. It blooms in molecules. It blossoms in dreams. And you, the one who rests, become part of the flowering. Let us now walk slowly toward the quiet end of this garden, where the last petals of the night begin to fold and the light of morning waits beyond the horizon. Here in the final hours of sleep, the chemistry of rest begins to change once more. The hormones that held you gently in dream begin their soft retreat. Melatonin, having glowed steadily through the night, starts to fade as even the faintest light presses against closed eyelids. Cortisol, which had waited patiently in the shadows, now rises with quiet precision, warming the body, sharpening the breath, guiding you toward wakefulness. This is not a sudden switch. It is a gradual turning, like a river meeting the sea. The body does not rush to wake, it transitions. Each system listens for the signal. Temperature begins to rise ever so slightly. The heart finds a livelier rhythm. Blood pressure lifts in a slow, deliberate climb. These are signs not of ending but of continuation. For sleep is not a separate life, it is part of the same circle, the same breath, the same pulse. Just as the hormones of night rose to quiet you, now the hormones of dawn emerge to carry you back. Together they form a loop, a whispering cycle that binds all your days and nights into one seamless, living thread. And yet, even in this transition, the body moves with tenderness. Prolactin and oxytocin, still lingering from deep sleep, leave their mark in how you feel. There may be softness in your emotions, a quietness to your thoughts. These hormones remind you that rest is not a break from the self, it is a return to it. You emerge not as someone new, but as someone restored. The mind feels more spacious, the nerves more soothed, the world somehow more forgiving. These are not dreams. They are the effects of a well-tended garden, still echoing in your bloodstream. Over time, the consistency of this rhythm becomes a kind of music within you. When the body knows when to sleep and when to rise, the hormones align like instruments tuned before a performance. Each note supports the next. Melatonin falls at dawn, cortisol rises. Serotonin follows, lifted by sunlight, setting the tone for mood and focus. These transitions are seamless when supported by regular sleep, natural light, and gentle waking. But when the rhythm is broken by alarms too sudden, lights too bright, schedules too erratic, the harmony falters. You may wake with a start, a fog, a sense of disconnection. The body has been pulled too quickly from its chemistry, and it takes time to reorient. Yet this balance is always recoverable. The garden, though silent, is forgiving. A few nights of softness can bring it back. Even a simple sunrise taken slowly can reset the internal clock. The receptors in your eyes, hungry for morning light, send messages to the brain that recalibrate the flow of hormones. Serotonin is encouraged, cortisol steadies, melatonin steps back, and once again the body listens. It always listens, it just needs space to hear. This is why rituals matter, not for superstition but for support. A gentle bedtime routine, a consistent hour, a room kept dark and cool, these become cues the body can follow. They are not commands, they are invitations. Over time, the body comes to expect these moments. It begins releasing melatonin even before the lights dim. It begins to slow the breath even before the pillow touches your cheek. These habits are not small. They are the soil in which the garden grows. And still there is more, because the body in its wisdom does not only serve its own rhythms, it also responds to the world around you, the emotional weather of your life. On stressful days, cortisol may rise too soon, disrupting sleep. On peaceful evenings, oxytocin may flood more freely, deepening your rest. The hormones of sleep are not isolated. They are participants in your full existence. They respond to love, to fear, to nourishment, to movement. They are shaped not just by biology, but by experience. This is why kindness matters not only toward others but toward yourself. A body held in stress cannot sleep as deeply. A mind flooded with urgency cannot hear the whispers of melatonin. But when you slow your thoughts, breathe into your chest, and treat yourself with care, the chemistry changes. GABA rises, heart rate slows, the garden responds. It does not need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present. And presence can look like many things: turning off your phone earlier, reading something soft, listening to music that calms. These acts are not accessories to sleep, they are catalysts. They shape the flow of hormones. They help the garden bloom. Even the scent of lavender or the warmth of a familiar blanket can become signals, gently encouraging melatonin, reducing cortisol, increasing oxytocin. In this way, your environment becomes part of the system, part of the garden's walls and paths and open skis. So when morning comes and you rise from your bed with dreams still lingering on your skin, know that what happened in the dark was not emptiness, it was creation, it was real work. Your cells were not sleeping, they were listening, your hormones were not paused, they were painting, weaving chemical threads that hold you together. The repair of your skin, the balance of your appetite, the shaping of your mood. All of it began in the night, in the silent garden that blooms just beneath your breath. And tonight it will bloom again, not because you force it, but because it is your nature. Sleep is not a mistake, it is not wasted time, it is the very method through which your body becomes whole. The hormones that rise and fall through your nights are your allies, invisible, patient, generous. You do not need to understand them fully to benefit. You only need to let them work. Let the night fall. Let the breath slow. Let the garden open its unseen petals once more. And as you close your eyes, know that this quiet symphony is beginning again, that somewhere inside you melatonin is rising like mist, that your breath is deepening, that a chemical peace is wrapping itself around your bones. The day is done. The garden is waiting, and you, gentle, listening, ready, are already part of its bloom. Memory does not live only in your mind, it floats like moonlight in the spaces between neurons, gently resting in the folds of sleep. Each day you collect countless fragments, faces, sounds, feelings, images that flicker and fade. These do not all become memories. Some dissolve, some root deeply, and others wait quietly, hopping for sleep to find them, because it is not during the rush of daylight that memory takes its true shape. It is during the night, in the silent corridors of the sleeping brain, that the past is softly stitched into the fabric of who you are. Imagine your day as a long thread unspooling behind you. Each conversation, each passing moment adds a strand, but these strands are loose, fragile, scattered across the mental floor. Sleep does not sweep them away. Instead, it begins to weave. The loom is your brain and its rhythms are steady. As you drift into slumber, the hippocampus, the keeper of new memories, begins its secret work. It replays the day in subtle echoes, rehearsing, reinforcing, deciding. Some memories it hands off to the neocortex for long-term storage. Others it lets fade gently. This is not forgetting. This is pruning. It is the brain's way of deciding what matters most. This delicate process begins in slow wave sleep, the deep and quiet stages where brainwaves pulse like low thunder across the night. Here, the hippocampus and neocortex whisper to each other, sharing memory in a language of electrical pulses and chemical markers. A face you saw for a moment may be replayed. A word you struggled to learn is strengthened. An experience that made you pause is pressed more firmly into place. This is how learning grows roots. Not through repetition alone, but through rest, the kind of rest that only sleep can give. Yet memory is not only fact. It is emotion too, and REM sleep, the dreaming stage, plays a different role. It does not reinforce the memory of names or times, it works with feelings. It moves through the raw material of experience, shaping it into meaning. It connects distant moments. It reframes pain. It revisits joy. During REM, the brain is highly active, yet disconnected from the world. It is free to explore, to imagine, to test what if scenarios without consequence. This is why dreams can feel like memories themselves, vivid, strange, soaked in emotion. They are memory's garden, wild and alive. Within this garden, another transformation takes place. Emotional memories, the ones tied to heartbeats and tears, are softened. The amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, quiets during REM. Stressful memories are not erased but processed. The emotional edge is dulled. You still remember the moment, but it stings less. This is why after a night of sleep, grief can feel slightly lighter. Fear can lose its sharpness. The brain has filed the experience into its cabinet not with fire but with care. It has made space to carry it. And so night after night the brain becomes both archive and artist. It stores the necessary. It lets go of the noise. It takes what is scattered and makes it whole, all without your knowing. You lie still, unaware. But inside, your day is being rewritten in softer ink. Even seemingly insignificant details, the layout of a room, the shape of a word, can be saved if the brain finds them useful. And over time, this stored material becomes your sense of self. Your identity is built not only from what you do, but from what you remember. And that memory is sculpted, gently, each time you sleep. It's no wonder, then, that when sleep is lost, memory begins to fray. The hippocampus becomes overworked. It cannot properly encode new memories without rest. The conversations blur. The facts don't stick. You feel forgetful not because you are broken, but because the machinery of memory hasn't had its night to settle. And over time, chronic sleep loss does more than scatter the day, it erodes the long-term archives. Connections weaken. Recollection grows harder. It's not simply about remembering facts, it's about remembering yourself. But the body is forgiving. Even a single night of deep sleep can repair much of the damage. Like a gardener returning after a storm, the brain begins to collect what was scattered. It reinforces what it can. It gently lets go of what cannot be kept. Sleep is always an act of recovery, not only for the body, but for the mind's sense of time, continuity, and clarity. This is why the morning feels fresh. Not because the world has changed, but because you have reorganized your place in it. Even creativity relies on this nocturnal sorting. During REM sleep, the brain doesn't just replay old memories. It weaves them into new patterns. It draws connections between distant thoughts. A melody heard days ago may resurface in a dream, mixed with a color, a voice, a memory of rain. This is not chaos. It is synthesis. The sleeping brain is not idle, it is inventive. The insights that arrive in the shower, the solutions that come upon waking, they are planted during sleep, watered by memory, and bloomed into thought. So memory is not a fixed thing, locked in place once the moment passes. It is alive, it breathes. It is curated nightly by sleep's quiet caretakers. The same moment recalled days later may feel different, not because it is wrong, but because the emotional hue has shifted. Sleep has repainted it. What once was frightening may now seem distant. What once felt unclear may now feel certain. Sleep is not dishonest. It is adaptive. It helps us live with what we've known. And so, each night when your head finds the pillow, remember that you are not retreating. You are reorganizing. The day does not vanish. It is filed. It is resketched. It is folded into the shape of who you are becoming. Memory's moonlight falls not only on the past, but on the path ahead, lighting your way gently as you sleep. Let us drift deeper now into the moonlit chambers of the mind, where memories breathe and rearrange themselves in sleep. Long after your eyes close and the world fades to black, your brain becomes luminous inside. Like a library that glows with lanterns after hours, it comes alive with quiet activity. Books are opened, pages are turned, shelves are reorganized. And what's being cataloged is not just knowledge, it is experience. It is sensation, it is learning, it is emotion. All of it, piece by piece, is reviewed and restored in the dark. This process is ancient and essential. In the earliest forms of life with anything resembling a nervous system, there was already a need for rhythm, for an on and off cycle of wake and rest. In modern humans, this need has deepened into something more complex. Sleep has become the gardener of long-term memory, and the brain, every night, takes your waking life and plants parts of it like seeds. Some grow into strong, lasting memories. Others wither or are intentionally trimmed away. This is how the brain protects you, not by storing everything, but by choosing what helps you move forward. During slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus plays back recent memories to the cortex like a projector quietly showing a film. The cortex, which handles long-term storage, receives these signals and strengthens certain pathways. Connections between neurons, called synapses, are reinforced or trimmed depending on need. This isn't random. The brain strengthens what you've rehearsed, what you've repeated, what you felt deeply. It makes memory not by sheer quantity, but by meaning. A moment full of emotion, even if short, can be remembered forever. A repeated lesson, practiced again and again, is laid into the mind like a stone path. Scientists call this process consolidation. It is how fragile impressions become stable memories, but it is more than just repetition. It is reactivation. When you sleep, especially in the early hours of the night, neurons that fired together during the day tend to fire together again. The brain replays patterns, not in full color, not as you remember them consciously, but as electrical rhythms, faint, precise echoes of thought. These echoes are the reason you can learn a new name and remember it better after sleep, or understand a concept that seemed impossible the night before. The brain is solving puzzles in the dark, even as your body lies still. Yet there's another layer, the emotional. The brain doesn't just process facts, it processes feelings. And REM sleep, with its vivid dreams and active brain patterns, plays a vital role in helping you make sense of your inner world. In REM, the amygdala, the brain's emotional sentinel, remains active, but the prefrontal cortex, the logic center, goes quiet. This allows emotions to flow freely, unfiltered. You revisit arguments, mistakes, hopes, memories, but not as a courtroom. More like a poem, dreams are often illogical, yet emotionally honest. They are where your brain gives your heart a chance to speak. In this way, sleep becomes a safe place for emotional rehearsal. A friend who said something hurtful may appear in a dream but softened. A long-forgotten place may return, colored with warmth. Traumas may flicker into fragments, not to torment but to process. The dreaming brain knows not to push you too hard. It simply lets emotions breathe. This is how sleep contributes not just to learning but to emotional intelligence. Without it, feelings stay raw. With it, the sharp edges smooth. The memory remains, but the pain begins to settle. And the benefits ripple outward. When you sleep well, your memories not only become more stable, they become more accessible. You can find the words you need more easily. Your sense of time improves. Even your decisions become clearer. Sleep improves recall, but also discernment. You don't just remember more, you know which memories to use. It's why sleep can feel like a mental reset. The chaos of yesterday arranges itself into something navigable. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. This isn't magic, it's neurology. It's the brain doing its deepest thinking beneath the waves of consciousness. Memory, however, is not static. It is shaped again each time it is recalled. Every time you remember something, you slightly alter it. You pull it from storage, view it through today's lens, and then store it again. This means memory is not a perfect recording, it is a living story, and sleep helps protect that story from distortion. It stabilizes memories before they are re-edited by emotion or bias. This is why memories formed just before sleep can often be the most clear and lasting. They're caught before waking life can reshape them. There is a kind of kindness in this too. The brain doesn't store everything. It doesn't burden you with every mistake, every glance, every moment. It lets go. It frees space. This selective forgetting is not failure, it is health. Just as we breathe out to make space for the next breath, we forget to make space for new thought. Sleep is where that exhalation of memory takes place. It decides what to keep, what to file, and what to release. And all of this depends on rhythm, on deep sleep cycles, on the smooth transition between stages. When sleep is interrupted by noise, by light, by stress, memory suffers. Not always in obvious ways, but in tiny accumulative ripples. You may misplace a thought, forget a name, feel a sense of disconnection. These are signals, not of aging or failure, but of fatigue. The mind needs sleep to gather itself again. Yet the restoration is always waiting. One good night can begin to rebuild. One full cycle can re-establish what was slipping. Sleep, unlike time, gives you second chances. It invites you back into the rhythm, back into the soft vaults where memory is not just stored but cared for, and cared for gently. So the next time you wonder if sleep is worth it, remember this. Every hour you rest is another stitch in the fabric of yourself. Not wasted, not passive, but essential. Memory is not made only in the moment something happens. It is made in how you hold it afterward. And sleep is the cradle that holds it best. Let us now follow memory to its resting place, where it no longer flickers like candlelight but settles into permanence. Sleep, by now, has carried your mind through slow waves and dreaming tides, past moments of repair and soft unraveling. And in its final hours, something even deeper unfolds, the quiet anchoring of who you are. The things you've seen, the feelings you've held, the thoughts you've chased, all begin to find their home. Not every detail remains. But what stays, stays gently, lovingly, sealed beneath the skin of consciousness like moonlight held in water. In the earliest part of morning, as the sun waits behind the world, your brain finishes its work. It files away what matters. Not everything. The brain is wise in its selections. It keeps the stories that serve you, the lessons you'll need, the traces of beauty that give your inner world color. This is not memorization. It is transformation. What enters the day as scattered experience leaves the night as meaning. And you, the dreamer unaware, wake with that meaning etched into the folds of your thought, ready to be recalled not just by fact, but by feeling. These stored memories are not frozen snapshots. They are living maps. When you remember something, your brain does not pull out a perfect image. It recreates it in real time, using cues, sensations, and emotional tone. Sleep gives these maps their clarity. It strengthens the paths that lead to what matters and dims the roads that wander too far. This is why you can recall a childhood home in great detail but forget what you wore last Tuesday. It's not about age, it's about resonance. Memory does not just record, it responds. Sleep also layers context onto these maps. It connects distant moments, fuses related thoughts, and gives you a wider frame to understand what you've lived. You might realize something in a dream that you didn't grasp during the day, or feel clarity about a decision that had been tangled in confusion. This is sleep's secret gift, the stitching together of what once felt separate. The past becomes usable. It doesn't merely sit in silence. It becomes part of your intuition, your insight, your readiness to act and respond with greater understanding. And this work continues as the cycles of sleep loop through the night. Each 90-minute round refines memory further. In the beginning, the deep sleep stages dominate, reinforcing facts, patterns, physical skills. In later cycles, REM sleep expands, layering in emotion, creativity, and meaning. The two work like partners, handing off the material of the day from one to the other, shaping and reshaping your inner world. What emerges is not just a memory. It is a version of the world sculpted by rest, a reflection of life smoothed and polished by the dreaming mind. Even language depends on this refinement. Words are not only memorized, they are internalized. Grammar, tone, syntax, these are patterns absorbed in the dark. Children learning language benefit most from uninterrupted sleep, where their brains can process and replay the rhythms of speech. Adults, too, strengthen vocabulary, accent, comprehension through the cycles of deep rest. It is not conscious study alone, but the work of sleep that cements understanding. The quiet repetition of neural circuits, the soft rehearsal of structure. This is true of muscle memory as well. Physical skills, from playing piano to riding a bike, are not just practiced when you're awake. They are encoded in sleep. Movements you repeated during the day are strengthened at night, as the brain reviews and reinforces the motor pathways involved. Athletes and performers often find that a difficult move becomes easier after sleep, not because their muscles grew stronger, but because their brain gave the movement a second chance in silence. This is sleep's rehearsal hall, where memory is given space to deepen, free of error, free of doubt. And in the most mysterious way, memory is also comforted by sleep. Painful memories, emotional wounds, unfinished conversations, they soften in the dark. Sleep does not erase them, but it coats them in compassion. It allows distance. It lowers the heat. After a good night's sleep, something you feared may feel less sharp. Something unresolved may feel less urgent. The story hasn't changed, but your relationship to it has. This is emotional memory, tended like a fragile plant in the greenhouse of night. Yet memory is not invincible. When sleep is neglected night after night, the garden of memory becomes scattered. New information is harder to retain. Old memories are less accessible. Emotions become raw, reactive. Decisions grow foggy. The brain struggles to build coherence, but even here the path back is short. A return to deep sleep can begin the repair. The synapses respond. The chemical rhythms restore. The cycles continue. Memory is forgiving. It waits. And so every night when your head rests on the pillow, you return not just to sleep, but to the archive of your life. You return to the vault where your experiences are held, polished, and set into place. You give your brain the time it needs to keep you whole, not just smart but centered, not just informed but understood. Memory is not the act of holding, it is the art of shaping, and sleep is the sculptor. In the quietest hours before waking, your brain finishes its story. It closes the books. It dims the lights. It places one more piece of your life into the shelves of your soul. You will not remember the moment it does this. You will simply wake with clarity, with calm, with the soft assurance that you have been carried. Carried by moonlight. Carried by chemistry. Carried by sleep. And as you stretch into the morning, as light warms your skin and thought returns to your voice, know that something precious happened while you slept. You were remembered not only by others but by yourself. Your mind, your body, your inner world, they took the day and made it whole. Quietly, patiently, as they always do, and tonight they will do it again. There is a clock inside you, but it does not tick like the ones on your wall. It does not count hours in numbers or minutes in clicks. It moves instead like a tide, slow and sure, shifting through your blood, your breath, your thoughts. This is your circadian rhythm, the hidden choreography that guides your body through each day and each night. It is ancient, older than language, shaped by the rising and falling of light long before cities glowed after dark. And though you may not feel it, it feels you. It listens to your waking, it listens to your stillness, and it dances quietly in time with the earth. At the heart of this rhythm lies a cluster of neurons no bigger than a grain of rice. It sits in the hypothalamus, just above the place where the optic nerves cross. This is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, the master clock. It receives messages from light-sensitive cells in your eyes, even when your eyes are closed. When sunlight hits the retina, a signal travels straight to this center, telling it what time it is. Morning light resets the rhythm. Evening darkness lets it deepen. The SCN then sends its own signals, cascading through the brain and body, whispering the timing of sleep, hunger, temperature, hormones, and more. This rhythm is not a simple line. It is a wave that rises and falls over 24 hours. In the morning, body temperature begins to climb. Blood pressure rises. Cortisol, the alertness hormone, reaches its peak. You feel sharper, more focused, more capable of action. By midday, your reaction time is at its best. Coordination improves. Muscles grow warmer and stronger. In the afternoon, your body becomes physically primed. This is when athletes often perform best, when the body hums in its highest tempo. Then slowly, toward evening, the wave begins to dip. Melatonin begins to rise. Energy softens. The pulse slows. And as darkness settles in, the body listens to the call of rest. This daily pattern is not just about when you sleep and wake. It governs countless rhythms within, the rise and fall of blood sugar, the timing of digestion, the rate at which cells divide, the sensitivity of your skin, the openness of your mind. Even the immune system follows this dance, responding more swiftly during certain times of day and resting during others. Each system in your body has its own circadian rhythm, and though they take cues from the master clock in the brain, they also listen to their own inner timing. These are peripheral clocks, in the heart, the liver, the lungs, the gut, ticking in harmony with your life. These rhythms are not rigid, they are responsive. They adjust to patterns in your environment when you eat, when you move, when you rest, when you expose yourself to light. But they require consistency. When your habits are steady, the clocks stay in sync. When your life becomes erratic, late nights, skipped meals, shifting schedules, the rhythms begin to fall out of step. Like dancers losing the beat, the body's systems begin to stumble. Sleep becomes shallow. Hunger arrives at odd hours. Energy dips and spikes unpredictably. You may feel foggy, fatigued, ungrounded, not because you're broken, but because your clocks are out of tune. One of the most powerful cues for the circadian system is light, specifically natural light. Morning sunlight is rich in blue wavelengths that suppress melatonin and signal the brain to wake. Just 15 to 30 minutes of daylight early in the day can anchor your rhythm, helping you feel alert during the day and sleepy when night returns. This is why people who spend time outdoors early in the morning tend to sleep better, feel more focused, and experience fewer mood disturbances. The sun, in its silent glow, is your body's primary conductor. Its light tells your biology where it is in time. But it is not just sunlight that shapes the rhythm. Food is a timekeeper too. When you eat affects how your body metabolizes energy, how your insulin responds, how your liver works. Eating at irregular hours confuses these systems. A late-night meal may signal to the body that day has returned, delaying the release of melatonin, impairing sleep, disrupting digestion. The circadian rhythm does not only care about what you eat, it cares when you eat. It prefers regularity. It responds to timing like a drumbeat. Breakfast near waking, dinner before darkness. These habits allow your internal clocks to move in harmony, not competition. Movement is another rhythm cue. Physical activity, especially in the morning or early afternoon, reinforces the body's awareness of time. It lifts temperature. It energizes. It helps reset the sleep-wake cycle. Even gentle walking outdoors can align your rhythms. But movement late in the evening when the body is preparing to slow can push back the internal clocks, delaying sleep, heightening alertness, keeping cortisol elevated when it should be falling. The body appreciates a soft descent toward night. The slow steps of evening should be ones of unwinding. Sleep itself is both the product and the protector of circadian balance. When you sleep well, the rhythm is maintained. When sleep is disturbed, the clock stutters. And when the clock is out of sync, sleep becomes harder to reach. It is a two-way street. Jet lag, shift work, even daylight saving time, these disruptions confuse the system. The SCN receives mismatched signals. The peripheral clocks become desynchronized. And it takes days, sometimes weeks, for the body to return to rhythm. This is why consistency matters, not for perfection but for peace. Your mood also follows this cycle. The chemicals that support emotional balance, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, rise and fall with your circadian rhythm. Disruption in timing can dull joy, shorten patience, and sharpen anxiety. Depression has been linked to disturbed circadian patterns, particularly in people who experience long nights or erratic light exposure. But when rhythms are restored, so often is mood. Morning light, evening calm, regular sleep, these are not just lifestyle choices. They are emotional medicine. Even your memory and learning are shaped by circadian timing. Your ability to absorb new information peaks at certain times of day. Your attention, focus, and problem-solving shift with the waves of your rhythm. Trying to force learning or creativity at the wrong time can feel like swimming upstream. But when you align your efforts with your natural rhythm, you find ease. You find clarity. The brain, like the body, prefers to dance on time. And so this slow dance of circadian clocks continues within you, every day, every night, whether you notice or not. It is the reason morning feels different than evening. The reason your energy rises and falls. The reason you crave stillness at twilight and movement in the sun. These are not moods. They are messages. They are the language of your inner time. And when you honor this time, when you let light in early, rest in the dark, eat in rhythm, and move with grace, the clocks inside you align. And in that alignment, something beautiful happens. You feel whole. You feel steady. You feel like yourself, flowing not against time, but within it. Let's drift further now, deeper into the invisible mechanisms that keep time within you. The circadian clocks do not live only in the brain. They live in nearly every cell, every tissue, every organ. These peripheral clocks, from your heart to your skin to your gut, each keep their own beat, following the central conductor in the brain, but also responding to the rhythms of their local world. They are like members of a great orchestra, playing from the same score, yet each with its own instrument, its own part to carry. And together, they compose the harmony of your health. These clocks don't count minutes the way your wristwatch does. Instead, they measure the ebb and flow of hormones, the timing of gene expression, the cycles of metabolism. They listen to light, yes, but also to nutrients, movement, temperature, and rest. When the timing is right, the clocks stay synchronized. The body hums. Digestion occurs when food is present. Repair occurs when stillness reigns. But when these signals arrive out of sync, food in the middle of the night, light in the early morning hours, stress late into the evening. The system begins to fall apart gently. Not all at once, but slowly, subtly, like an orchestra losing its tempo. This misalignment is known as circadian disruption. It is common in modern life, in night shift workers, frequent travelers, and even ordinary people whose schedules drift with irregularity. Over time, the effects ripple. Insulin sensitivity declines, inflammation rises, blood pressure fluctuates, sleep becomes lighter, more fragmented, even hunger hormones shift. Ghrelin, which stimulates appetite, and leptin, which suppresses it, lose their rhythm. You feel hungry at odd hours. Cravings increase. Fatigue persists. The body, trying to listen to time, begins to whisper that something is off. And yet, even in the midst of this disruption, your body never gives up. The clocks within you keep trying to realign. They search for cues. They wait for light, for regularity, for the gentle signals that tell them where they are. A consistent wake time, morning sunlight, meals that arrive when the body expects nourishment, rest that begins before the deep night. These are not simply habits, they are time anchors. They steady the internal world. They allow the clocks to reset gradually, like tuning forks brought back into harmony. The strength of your circadian rhythm is not just about sleep, it is about resilience. A well-synced rhythm helps the body resist stress more effectively. The adrenal glands, which release cortisol and adrenaline, respond more calmly when time is predictable. The immune system becomes more efficient, releasing white blood cells in waves that match the threat of pathogens, often more active in the early hours of the morning. Even the gut, home to trillions of microbes, follows a diurnal pattern, digesting more effectively during daylight and repairing itself at night. These functions depend on timing. When the rhythm holds, health follows. In hospitals, researchers have noticed that medications work better at certain times of day. Some cancer treatments are more effective in the afternoon, when liver enzymes can help process the drugs more efficiently. Blood pressure medications may lower risk when taken before sleep. This emerging science, chronotherapy, is revealing just how deeply time governs biology. Not just when we feel tired, but when we heal, when we absorb, when we recover. The clocks within us guide more than mood. They guide our very survival. And so the question becomes, how do we care for these clocks? The answer is simpler than it seems. Start with light. Light in the morning, especially natural light, resets the master clock. When you wake, try to step outside, even if only for a few minutes. Let your eyes receive the full spectrum of morning light. This tells the SCN that day has begun. It halts melatonin. It encourages serotonin. It strengthens the rhythm for the entire day. Then move. Gentle exercise in the morning, stretching, walking, breathing deeply, signals to the body that life is beginning. The muscles wake, blood flows, the clocks in your limbs and organs receive their cue. Later in the day, more vigorous movement reinforces energy and primes you for deeper rest at night. But by evening, let the tempo slow again. Let your body prepare to descend. Nutrition is another pillar. Try to eat your meals around the same time each day. Let breakfast arrive with light. Let dinner fall close to dusk. Late-night snacking confuses the liver, delays digestion, and pushes sleep deeper into the night. Your digestive system has its own clock and it prefers routine. When food arrives on time, it digests more gently, more completely. The body thanks you in kind. And finally, rest. Not just sleep, but quiet, consistent transitions into it. A regular bedtime, a calm hour before, dim lights. No screens, a book, a stretch, a warm cup of something gentle. These are not indulgences. They are the winding down of a complex system that needs silence to begin its repair. They allow melatonin to rise. They let cortisol fall. They smooth the shift into sleep. This is how the body listens to time, not through alarms or calendars, but through repetition, pattern, light, and stillness. It responds best when your choices align with nature's cues. And nature, though patient, is persistent. The sun still rises and sets. The moon still pulls at oceans. And your body, small and complex as it may be, is still part of that same world. Its clocks tick not for obligation but for balance. And when that balance is honored even a little, you feel it. You feel the difference between sleeping late and waking groggy and rising early with the light. You feel it in your hunger, your calm, your clarity. It is not a discipline, it is a return to the rhythm that has always been yours, to the clock you were born with. The slow dance of time, heard in your pulse, seen in your breath, traced in the turning of your days. Now let us move into the quiet closing of the day's rhythm, where time begins to fold in on itself, and the clocks within you slow their song. After a day of rising energy, of movement and light, the body prepares once again for its descent into rest. This is the return, the natural winding back towards center, where sleep waits and silence grows. And in these final hours before night fully gathers you, the circadian dance offers its gentlest steps, guiding every part of you towards stillness. It begins with light leaving the sky. As shadows stretch long and the temperature of the air begins to fall, the eyes, though you may not notice, send a message to the brain. The light is fatting. This signal travels to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, your master clock, which then lowers the alert signals that shaped your day. It calls forth melatonin, soft and slow, like the dimming of lanterns in a quiet hall. Melatonin does not push you into sleep. It invites you. It tells the body that the time of effort has passed, that now it may let go. As melatonin rises, the internal temperature of your body drops ever so slightly. This cooling is not a failure of heat, it is an entrance into rest. The muscles begin to relax, the heart slows its rhythm, the blood pressure eases. These are the physiological signs of circadian rhythm at work, the clock gently turning the world of your body inward. And while this may seem like the end of something, it is truly the beginning, because it is in the rest that renewal begins. During this transition, the peripheral clocks in your liver, in your digestive tract, in your skin also receive their cues. They hear the message, no more food is coming tonight, no more light, no more striving. They turn their attention from function to repair. The liver begins its cleansing work, breaking down toxins accumulated through the day. The gut shifts from processing to regeneration. The skin, freed from sun and movement, begins to rebuild. Every part of the body understands what time it is and what must be done. And within this softening, the emotional body joins the dance. Cortisol, the stress hormone, naturally falls. The brain, no longer required to stay alert, begins to lower the volume of thought. The amygdala, often loud during stress, begins to hush. If you've honored the rhythm, if you've dimmed your lights, stepped away from screens, allowed your mind to settle, then sleep comes not as a task, but as a surrender. You drift, and in that drifting, the body begins its deepest work. Throughout the night, your circadian rhythm continues to shape your sleep. In the first half, deep slow-wave sleep dominates, the kind that strengthens memory, restores muscles, repairs cells. Then as dawn nears, REM sleep rises, bringing dreams, emotional processing, and creativity. The timing of these stages is not random. It follows your clock. If you sleep too late, cut your night short, or delay bedtime past your natural rhythm, the balance of these stages is disrupted. You may get less deep sleep, less dream time, less renewal. Your inner rhythm knows when sleep should begin, and it does its best work when you listen. And in the early morning hours, long before your eyes open, the body begins to prepare for day. Cortisol gently rises, warming the system. The heart rate ticks upward. Body temperature climbs. Melatonin withdraws. All of this happens before you even stir. The circadian clock is already one step ahead, preparing you to greet the world. If your sleep has been full and undisturbed, this process feels seamless. You wake with calm, with energy, with presence. But if the rhythm has been interrupted, if the night was too short, the light too bright, the stress too near, the waking feels jarring, like being pulled before you are ready. This is why consistency is so powerful. Going to bed and waking at the same time each day, even on weekends, strengthens your internal rhythm. It makes sleep easier to reach and waking gentler to receive. Your body becomes predictable, not rigid but steady. Like the tide, like the moon, like the slow and perfect turning of the earth. And this steadiness ripples into everything. Your digestion improves, your energy feels balanced, your thoughts come more clearly, even your emotions become easier to hold. Because when the clocks within you are in sync, they communicate better. They share signals more cleanly. There is less confusion between systems, less static, more clarity. The body knows what to do and when to do it. In a world that pulls you constantly out of rhythm through technology, through pressure, through endless stimulation, this internal clock becomes an anchor. It holds you steady. It reminds you that you are not separate from nature, that you too follow the light, that your body, even when ignored, is always listening, always trying to find its way back to balance. And so, caring for your circadian rhythm is not only about better sleep, it is about wholeness. It is about living in alignment with the shape of time that life has always known. Not the artificial hours of obligation, but the real hours measured by breath, by light, by stillness, by sunrise and sunset. Tonight, when the light begins to dim, notice how your body responds, the way your shoulders fall, the way your thoughts slow, the way something in you reaches toward rest. This is not laziness, it is rhythm. It is the music of the cells. Let yourself move with it. Let yourself slow. Because in doing so, you are not only preparing for sleep, you are returning to the oldest dance of life, one that plays inside you always, softly, patiently, waiting for you to hear its rhythm again. Beneath your skin, beyond the quiet breath and the slow beat of your heart, a world is rebuilding itself. Not with noise or urgency, but with quiet motion, microscopic diligence, and rhythms older than memory. Every night, while you sleep and dream and forget the shape of the day, your cells go to work. This is the repair you cannot see, the renewal that keeps your bones strong, your muscles whole, your thoughts clear. When the world outside falls away, the body turns inward. And in that inward turning, your cells begin their sacred task: to rest, to rebuild, to remember what wholeness feels like. The human body is made of trillions of cells, tiny living engines, each with its own purpose. Some carry oxygen, some hold memory, some defend against harm, others digest, divide, mend, sense, or transmit. And each day, as you live and move and speak, these cells take on the strain of life. They grow tired, they accumulate waste. Their structures wear down, but they are not fragile. They are ready, because the night is their time. The moment when they are allowed to do what daylight does not permit, to pause, to restore, to rebuild themselves from the inside out. This process begins as sleep deepens. In the first stages, the body prepares, breathing slows, blood pressure drops, energy shifts inward. Then in deep slow-wave sleep, growth hormone is released in pulses like a tide lapping gently against the shore. This hormone is not just for children. It is a healer. It tells cells to divide, to repair, to regenerate. It speaks directly to bone, to skin, to muscle, to the immune system. It tells them gently but clearly that now is the time to heal. Not during action, not during effort, but in this deep stillness when the body has withdrawn from the demands of the world. In muscles, this repair is vivid. During waking hours, physical strain creates tiny tears in muscle fibers, harmless but necessary disruptions. These tears are signals. They say, "Make me stronger." And at night, that message is answered. Cells called satellite cells wake and begin their work. They fuse with the damaged muscle fibers, reinforce the tissue, make it stronger for the next day. This is not only for athletes. Even everyday movements, walking, lifting, stretching, leave behind a request for repair. And sleep is when that request is answered. In your bones, a similar process unfolds. Bone cells called osteoblasts are more active during rest. They rebuild the matrix of minerals that give your body structure. They respond to tiny stresses and pressures placed on the skeleton during the day, reinforcing areas that need support. Without sleep, this rebuilding falters. Over time, density declines. But when sleep is honored, the bones remain quietly alive, not just still, but active, strong in silence. Your skin, too, enters a phase of renewal. While you rest, blood flow to the skin increases, collagen production rises, wounds begin to close, inflammation softens. This is why sleep is often called beauty rest, not for vanity but for biology. The skin is your barrier to the world, and each night it is refreshed from within. Cells at the base of the skin divide, pushing new, healthy layers upward. And while this happens invisibly, the results are tangible: a glow, a softness, a resilience that comes not from products, but from peaceful hours in the dark. Inside your brain, the repair is quieter but no less powerful. A system called the glymphatic pathway becomes active during sleep. It's like a cleaning crew made of glial cells that sweeps away waste, proteins, chemicals, fragments left behind by thoughts and emotions. One of these proteins, beta amyloid, is linked to cognitive decline when it builds up. Sleep is how the brain clears it, not with noise but with flow. Cerebrospinal fluid washes through the brain tissue, carrying away what no longer serves. This cleaning cannot happen fully while you are awake. It requires stillness. And in that stillness, the mind begins to shine again. The immune system, your body's quiet defense, also works with rhythm. While you sleep, immune cells circulate more freely. They seek out infections, damaged cells, and disruptions. They learn. They remember. This is when the body creates long-term immune memory, the reason vaccines are more effective when followed by good sleep. It is also why illness feels worse when sleep is short. Without these nighttime hours of repair, the body falls behind in its defense. But with rest, it renews its strength, one silent patrol at a time. Even your heart takes this time to rebuild. During deep sleep, the heart rate slows, the blood vessels relax, the demand for oxygen drops. This is a kind of resting rhythm, a period where the heart gets to recover from its ceaseless work. Studies show that poor sleep increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, not because the heart is weak, but because it never gets the break it needs. But when sleep is deep and steady, the heart finds its moment of ease. And in that ease, it prepares for the day ahead. At the cellular level, even your DNA is repaired. Every day, cells accumulate tiny breaks in their strands of genetic code caused by sunlight, toxins, or normal activity. During sleep, enzymes wake and begin to mend these breaks. They move delicately through the nucleus, cutting out damaged pieces, replacing them, sealing the strands. This is invisible work, but it is sacred. It protects the integrity of your blueprint, the code that tells your body how to be. And all of this happens not with urgency, but with patience. The cells do not rush. They follow the body's clock. They respond to rhythm. Sleep is not passive. It is not doing nothing. It is the opposite. It is the body doing its deepest work, beneath the surface, beyond awareness, restoring what life has weathered. So when you lie down at night, you are not collapsing. You are beginning. You are entering the part of your day where your cells are no longer asked to perform. They are allowed to recover. The world may fall silent, but within you, life becomes luminous. A soft unfolding of purpose. A rebuilding in the dark. Let us move even deeper now, into the quiet spaces where each cell listens not to sound, but to signal, chemical, electrical, rhythmic, and begins its work beneath the veil of sleep. By day, your cells are multitaskers, adapting constantly to light, motion, temperature, and emotion. They answer stress, regulate hunger, pump oxygen, fire thoughts, and mend what breaks. But at night, freed from the pressures of the outside world, they slow into precision. The body is no longer navigating the crowd. It is tending the soil, pulling weeds, rebalancing the terrain from root to sky. Each system you carry, cardiovascular, muscular, immune, endocrine, joins the great project of restoration. And at the smallest level, it is the mitochondria, the cell's inner engines, that begin to breathe more freely. During waking hours, mitochondria work intensely to produce the energy you need. But they also accumulate where? They generate byproducts like reactive oxygen species that in large amounts begin to damage their structure. At night, however, the pressure lifts. These same mitochondria begin repairs, folding proteins, restoring membranes, rebalancing their chemical state. This self-cleaning process, known as mitophagy, is a cellular kind of housekeeping, and sleep allows it to happen in full. Inside your organs, similar cycles unfold. The liver, so vital to filtering and detoxifying the blood, follows its own circadian rhythm. At night, its enzymes shift toward repair. It breaks down hormones no longer needed, processes leftover chemicals, stores nutrients. It does not perform its heaviest detoxification while you eat or move, it waits for the dark. When the body quiets, the liver listens. This is why late meals and poor sleep can disrupt liver function. They throw off the rhythm. They confuse the timing. But with proper rest, the liver hums quietly through the hours, cleansing in shadow. The pancreas also repairs itself while you sleep. During the day, it monitors blood sugar and releases insulin to keep energy balanced. But nighttime is not for fueling, it is for recalibration. The beta cells that produce insulin undergo gentle maintenance. They prepare for tomorrow's challenges. And when sleep is cut short, the balance is lost. Blood sugar control weakens. Insulin becomes less effective. Over time, this imbalance grows. But when sleep is deep and stable, the pancreas, too, finds its rhythm again. Your gut, often called the second brain, uses the night to reset. The trillions of microbes living inside you, bacteria, fungi, and more, follow circadian patterns just like you do. Some species rise at night, others fall. They support digestion, immunity, even brain chemistry. And while you rest, these tiny organisms help repair the gut lining, manage inflammation, and fine-tune their balance. Sleep strengthens this ecosystem. Disruption weakens it. And because the gut communicates directly with the brain through the vagus nerve, this nightly balance has far-reaching effects, not only for digestion, but for mood, memory, and resilience. Even your reproductive systems rest and rebuild. In women, the balance of estrogen, progesterone, and other hormones is shaped by sleep. Restful nights support menstrual regularity, fertility, and emotional steadiness. In men, testosterone is produced most significantly during deep sleep. These processes are not surface level, they are foundational. Without rest, hormonal harmony weakens. With sleep, it returns. Every part of your biology is tied to this nocturnal restoration. The skin, your largest organ, continues its renewal with exquisite timing. While you sleep, skin cells divide more rapidly. DNA repair enzymes become more active. Water loss increases slightly, allowing for deeper hydration and cellular exchange. Antioxidants rise to combat daytime damage. And beneath the visible layers, the extracellular matrix, a network of collagen and elastin, begins to rebuild. This is the skin's quiet ritual. And though products may aid it, it is sleep that powers it. No serum can replace the deep cellular repair that occurs in the dark. The endocrine system, responsible for hormonal communication throughout your body, uses sleep to rebalance its messages. The pituitary gland, often called the master gland, releases growth hormone in pulses during the early stages of deep sleep. This hormone touches nearly every tissue, muscle, bone, skin, organ, urging repair and regeneration. Other hormones like prolactin, leptin, ghrelin, and thyroid hormones also follow nightly rhythms. They regulate hunger, metabolism, immune function, and more, and all of them wait for sleep. Without it, their timing unravels, but when the body rests, their signals become symphonic again. And within all of this, your DNA, the sacred script that writes every detail of your biology, is repaired. Each cell in your body contains this code, wrapped in spirals and sequences, vulnerable to damage from the day's stressors. But sleep brings in the molecular caretakers, repair enzymes that scan for errors, correct mismatches, and stabilize the genome. This is vital not only for short-term function but for long-term health, the prevention of mutations, the delay of aging, the defense against disease. It is as if each night your body runs a silent security check, line by line, cell by cell. Meanwhile, in the brain, synaptic pruning continues. Neural connections formed during the day are reviewed and refined. Some are strengthened, others are trimmed. This makes room for learning, for clarity, for memory. It prevents overwhelm. Without this nightly pruning, the brain becomes cluttered, thoughts repeat, focus weakens, emotions grow unsteady. But with it, the mind becomes leaner, clearer, more responsive. Sleep sculpts not just your body, but your mind. All of this unfolds while you lie still, while your breath slows, while your awareness fades. You may think nothing is happening, but every cell, every system is at work cleaning, repairing, balancing. And the beauty of this process is its gentleness. It does not demand from you. It simply asks that you allow it, that you step out of the way, that you honor the rhythm, that you rest. Because in rest, your body does not fall behind, it catches up. It mends what was stressed. It recharges what was drained. It heals what was cracked. And it does so not once, but every night, quietly, faithfully, without needing to be seen. This is the grace of sleep, the repair beneath the silence, the restoration that begins not with effort but with surrender. Let us now follow the final stretch of this silent journey, where the cells begin to close their tasks and prepare to hand you back to the morning. The body has moved through the deep architecture of rest, systems cleaned, memories reshaped, tissues rebuilt. And now, as sleep softens into lighter waves, the process of renewal begins to slow. But there is still work being done. Even in these quiet final hours before waking, the rhythm of repair moves with care, not rushing, not stalling, just finishing what it began. As you lie asleep, your brain begins to change its rhythm once more. The deep waves of non-REM begin to shrink. REM sleep begins to grow, wrapping itself around the edges of morning. In this stage, the body remains still, but the mind is vividly alive. It is here that the brain puts final touches on what it has cleaned. Emotional memories are sorted. Creative threads are tested. And still, even as dreams stir beneath your eyelids, the deeper systems continue their healing. The immune cells make their final rounds. The DNA repair enzymes run their last scan. The mitochondria store energy for the day ahead. This is not winding down, it is setting the stage for re-entry. Then, as light begins to creep gently through your window, the cells begin their shift toward waking. Melatonin ebbs, cortisol rises but softly. Heart rate increases not with a jolt but with intention. Blood pressure lifts. The organs stir. This is the body's natural alarm, built not from noise but from readiness. And within your bloodstream, messenger molecules begin to change their pattern. Hormones that favored rest step back. Those that spark alertness step forward. You may not yet be awake, but your body is preparing for your return. And while this transition happens smoothly for most, it's important to know that it depends entirely on the sleep that came before it. When your night has been full, not just in time but in depth, this shift feels gentle. The mind feels clear. The breath is full. But when the night has been broken, shallow, or rushed, the cells are not ready. The cortisol comes too early or too strong. The systems are still repairing. The transition is jarring. You feel unrested not because you closed your eyes, but because the rebuilding was incomplete. This is why every hour of sleep matters. It is not only about quantity, it is about completeness. It is about moving through all the stages the body expects. Non-REM for healing, REM for feeling. A full cycle repeated. And in each round, the cells take another step forward. They clean a little deeper, rebuild a little further, realign a little closer to balance. To interrupt this process night after night is to ask the body to perform on half a foundation. It will try, it always tries, but the cracks will show. In fatigue, in immunity, in mood, in memory. But when sleep is honored, the body responds. It always returns to wholeness. There is grace in this. The body does not punish. It repairs, it forgives. And each night offers a new opportunity to begin again. You do not need to sleep perfectly. You only need to make space for the natural repair that wants to happen. Let the room be dark. Let the air be cool. Let the lights go off when they should. Let the screens rest. These small choices are the invitations your body has been waiting for. Not strict rules, but open doors. And behind those doors, your cells are ready to work again. Even your heart, which beats without asking, depends on this nightly renewal. In deep sleep, its patterns shift, more variability between beats, which signals relaxation and resilience. This variability is a sign of health, of adaptability. The more rested you are, the more flexibly your heart responds to stress. And this flexibility is built in the hours when your body feels safe enough to restore. When sleep is deep, the heart learns to rest between efforts, to pause between contractions, to gather strength, and in the morning, that strength becomes your foundation. Same is true of the brain's emotional circuits. When well rested, the pathways between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex remain smooth. You feel calmer, less reactive. You respond instead of react. But when sleep is short, that pathway becomes tangled. Emotions rise too fast, perspective dims, patience shortens, and the body feels unsafe even when nothing is wrong. But this, too, is reversible. With sleep, the tangle loosens, the pathway clears, and emotion begins to move with rhythm again. And what of the spirit, the feeling of being whole, the feeling of being yourself? That, too, is touched by sleep. When the body is rested, the mind becomes generous, compassion rises, empathy returns, joy is easier to hold. You feel more like someone you recognize. This is not magic, it is biology. It is the work of trillions of cells doing their part, restoring not only structure but sensation, memory, clarity, kindness, all of it shaped in the shadows of the night. So tonight, when the world goes quiet again and you lie down once more, remember what waits inside you. The muscles that need mending, the thoughts that need sorting, the systems that need space to breathe. You do not need to guide this process. Your body already knows how. You only need to yield. Let the sleep come. Let the body take over. And while you dream of nothing or everything, your cells will carry on. They will clean, repair, protect, and rebuild. They will turn chaos into order, strain into strength, fatigue into lightness. And in the morning you will rise not only more awake, but more whole. A body renewed not by effort, but by trust. A mind restored not by doing, but by letting go. Because every night is an invitation, and every cell is waiting to answer it.